And we'll go ahead and get started. So Amber, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, I just wanted to thank you all for attending. I'm Stephanie San Antonio. Most of you on this call I know, and you guys know our office and what we do. We are a health insurance agency, and we are here to really serve our clients with concierge service with a human touch and a smile. Now that we can all maybe see each other again, would love to give each and every one of you a big hug and just thank you for your business. We take pride in our work and we do a great job for our clients. We help design, come up with strategy to help retain talent. And we do that through creating a really comprehensive benefits package for our clients that would resonate with their employee base. So this is a little bit of our team. I own the agency and the main strategist, so to speak. Kyla and Nikki are both our account managers. Nikki is our client success manager. Many of you know if there's any customer service issues, she is the smiling face behind the phone that answers the calls. And Kyla really helps me on kind of higher level strategy. And then we have other team members as well that help with benefits administration. Louisa, Hannah, Alina is on this call right now and helps with operations and marketing. So we're just excited to continue growing our team and being able to have these opportunities to educate you guys and bring speakers to the table each month that are around topics that you guys find valuable. So today we are talking about recruiting, and those of you on the call obviously are interested in hearing more about what's happening in 2021 and learning how we can evolve our recruiting game, since it just seems to be a challenge in many industries to find the talent businesses are looking for. And I am just absolutely thrilled to have two people on this call that are going to be leading this discussion. One is the internal HR manager, Andrea Ortega with 1.21 Interactive. 1.21 Interactive has been a client of mine for, gosh, I mean, I want to say close to 15 years. I think I looked up 13 or 14 years now. I have seen them grow from just a few people. I think now they're up to 52 or 53 employees. They have all done this organically without investors, which is amazing. And they're a digital marketing agency. So they do an amazing, phenomenal job at company culture and really, really putting a lot of effort around their company brand and their brand that ultimately attracts the talent that they need. But even with that, there's struggles in recruiting this year, I think due to COVID and just where we're at. So Andrea's going to share some of those struggles and help give some tips as well. And I also am so honored to have Amber Gough on the line with us as well. She is an external recruiter with Cultive Hire. It is her company that she's had, and she brings 20 years of experience to the table in recruiting. And her whole goal is really partnering companies with hires that are going to be the right cultural fit. And I just love her mission. She has a Mad Give campaign, and her whole, again, connecting people and making a difference is really a perfect way to describe Amber and her and what she does from a recruiting standpoint that differentiates herself. It's not just about finding a hire and getting paid. Every placement that she makes for each company, she actually gives back and lets that organization pick which company or which nonprofit to donate to that she makes a donation to. So that's her Mad Give campaign. And I just really thought they'd be both really great resources to educate everybody and hopefully you guys walk away with some tips on how to change your recruiting game. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Amber.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having us. I'm really excited to be presenting with Andrea. I think it's like this perfect, we're going to try to wrap up all this information in a perfect little package. I'm going to, as an external recruiter, present kind of the overarching what's happened, what's changed, what are the struggles, give you a few tips, and then I'm going to pass it over to Andrea, and she's going to give you some nitty gritty tips on how they are changing their recruiting game. So it's going to be a lot of info and hopefully a lot of key takeaways. So we're going to cover what's changed, recruiting challenges, industry struggles, what candidates want, which is a big deal these days, and recruiting strategies, and then also open it up to Q&A. I want you to be thinking about what have you been doing? And maybe we're going to open it up for you to share your tips as well. You may have some ideas that we don't even share that we could even benefit from. So without further ado, state of recruiting in 2021. Last year was tough on recruiters, hence the bang head here. The pandemic and its repercussions devastated some of the talent acquisition teams heaped a lot of demand on others, and actually proved to cause some pretty big historic changes as virtual recruiting became the norm. And it's probably not going to go away. But according to research, recruiting and hiring is a top concern for many companies, if not most, in 2021. So let's cover some of the changes. I'm going to fire through these slides pretty quickly. You'll see there's a lot of data here. We are recording this, so you will have access to this if you want to go back and see any of these slides again. But without further ado, what are some of the changes that have hit that are not going to go away? The hybrid workforce has become more normalized. In a recent PwC study, they found that 93% of employees want to have a fully remote or some form of hybrid work model. There are a few benefits. A few of my favorites to note are smaller carbon footprint. I'm a conscious capitalist. I kind of like that idea, but also increased diversity. Remote work will vastly expand available talent pools, allowing for greater access to candidates from underrepresented groups as well. Also something I find exciting. But bottom line, talent is now open everywhere. Post-COVID, 69% of companies are offering some form of hybrid work model. Secondly, virtual hiring and recruiting is here to stay. More companies will adopt virtual recruiting technologies. There are many benefits. Simply put, it really pushed us to tighten up our game. Generally speaking, we will continue to virtually hire on some level because we can. Internal mobility is up 20% since the onset of COVID-19. In addition, 50% of companies expect their recruiting budget to decrease this year, while 66% anticipate their learning and development budget to increase to this or stay the same. Some experts believe that employers will build their workforce through internal mobility programs tied to reskilling initiatives. The benefits of this strategy can be pretty tremendous, actually. Time savings, I mean, clearly a shorter hiring process, cost savings, better retention. Candidates actually expect mobility, so this is a really big selling point, and it can expand the external candidate pool because it helps your reputation. If you're known for professional development and training, you're going to attract more candidates as well. So I'm a big fan of that. I'm also a fan of this. As an external recruiter, I hear all the time, can you find me that purple unicorn? And I'm like, guys, I don't know that exists. But additionally, recruiting for transferable skills is on the rise. The Society for Human Resources Management said seeking out candidates with transferable skills and prospects from distressed industries are effective recruitment tactics. It's going to do a lot of different things, clearly expanding your candidate pool. You actually may find some hidden top performers that just need a little bit of training. And again, that impact to DEI, it may open the door to go-getters who have not had that chance given to them before. Another HR trend that's likely to continue to grow, whether you like it or not, is AI and machine learning. They are pivotal forces, and they are going to start to expand and be utilized. At a minimum, I would say be in the know if you're not adopting them. Maybe test out a few of the tools that have good ratings. For job seekers, it can lead to a more positive experience as well, depending upon the tool, with advanced automated tools such as chatbots. And you can quickly and efficiently answer questions about hiring workflow and upcoming steps. I think when it comes to this level of tech, you need to know your candidate pool. Will they respond to this type of technical interaction? So definitely know your candidate pool and your industry. Diversity, equity, and inclusion will be a continuing focus area for recruiters. For many individuals looking at job openings, one of the key things they tend to look at is the company values. Candidates really care about your values, your mission, how you take care of people, and it really can be truly tremendous. You can attract more candidates because they care about how you take care of their people. Higher innovation, variety of different perspectives, increased creativity, faster problem solving, better decision-making, increased profits, higher employee engagement, better company reputation, improved hiring results. It's a lot of benefits. So you can tell I care about DEI. Moving on. The contingent workforce. I'm not going to go through all the benefits of this, but it is showing that a lot of job seekers really care about this. They need flexibility right now. There's just a lot of uncertainty. So maybe consider that as an option as well, if that makes sense for your company. And
Amber,
yeah,
real quick, on the last slide, if you can go back to that, are we talking, you're seeing companies, instead of making full-time hires, they're maybe hiring more consultants or part-time flexible schedule employees, or what does this look like?
Yes. So it's actually kind of interesting. Some individuals who loved gig work before. So from the candidate perspective, some of them loved gig work before, but now they want stability, and others need the flexibility. So there's this weird flip-flop happening when it comes to companies. Some of them are just nervous and they're uncertain and they're not ready to hire back permanently yet. And so they're utilizing this as kind of a stopgap before they're really confident that they want to, fully hire back. These are obviously the industries or companies that were hit harder through the pandemic.
And do you feel like the gig economy is growing, like the gig workforce, or do you feel like it's shrinking right now?
I think it's growing. I think it's growing for a lot of reasons, because you also have individuals people have kind of taken a step back and looked at their life and said, well, I don't know that I want to be doing this anymore. And so some people are leaving their full-time positions for gig work so they can travel the world or just spend more time with family or start a business. So I do think it's expanding. It was already expanding because millennials and the younger generations are kind of liking that. They like to work multiple jobs and just, eat really good food and what do I mean, like avocado toast or whatever.
At Better Buzz Coffee at like 5 locations. There you go.
Absolutely.
At 10:30 a.m. and you're like, don't you work?
That's so funny.
So do you feel like this has a huge impact on recruiting then for companies? If there's less like people looking for work, permanent work, it seems like that's kind of shrinking the pool as well.
It does. It is shrinking the pool. It's definitely one of the factors that's shrinking the pool of candidates.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for jumping in. Anyone feel free to jump in as I'm kind of firing through this. Number one skill for recruiters is to embrace in 2021 is adaptability. You got to adapt to win, try new things, get creative. I've, in recent years have been pretty centered on, I'm moving forward. In recent years, I have done a lot of like messaging and emails and more that way and less phone calls. And I'm finding if I pick up the phone, people are answering the phone. They're at home, they're working from home, they can answer the phone because they're not in the workspace. And that's been really powerful. So just change up your game. What haven't you been doing? What did you do in the past that worked that you haven't been doing? And maybe just try something entirely new altogether. So you just got to adapt, change, roll with it. And I keep losing my mouse. I'm so sorry, with the cursor. Moving on. Employer brand. It's a big deal. Simply put, employment brand is what your employees and applicants really think of you as an employer. By clearly stating who you are as an organization and what you offer, you help job seekers understand what it's like to work for your organization. Through this communication, you will further engage the right talent and help unfit candidates self-select out, which saves time. The stronger the employment brand and storytelling about it, the more successful you will be at attracting the right people and standing out as an employer of choice. Later on in the presentation, I'm going to show you a couple of ways to really flesh out your employer brand. So some key little tactics you can do to kind of flesh out that story. Let's discuss some of the challenges. I'm curious, what are some of the challenges you're seeing? What's your number one challenge? Somebody want to just speak up or maybe put it in the chat?
My number one challenge is getting people to show up even to a phone interview.
Ghosting. Okay. Any other challenges?
That's one of the things I'm going to chat about briefly when I get the wheel.
The opportunity.
I have one. In our case, we have success recruiting people, but then for some reason they don't stay. They, whatever they don't like, they're gone. And I'm not sure that is necessarily us. I think part of it is the government throwing money to people. I don't know, but we can't keep them on.
Yeah, the government throwing people money is always, yeah, it's definitely affecting it, because people, if they do need that flexibility or they do want to go back to school, it's a good time to do that because they do kind of have these little kickers that are helping them get by. So definitely. So I'm not going to go through all of these. I think we all kind of know generally what a lot of the different challenges may be. There are a few I want to touch on though. Competition, honestly, it feels like everyone's hiring right now. Competition is steep. In fact, Daniel Chait, he's the CEO of New York City based Greenhouse, which is one of the fastest growing recruiting software providers. He said, he's calling it the great rehiring. And this is a direct quote. He said, if things go well, it's possible that more people will re-enter the workforce in 2021 than any single year on record. And I wonder if it's going to be this like re-enter and then they leave, just like you were saying, re-enter, leave, re-enter. It's this kind of back and forth that's happening. Another interesting article I read, which is touching on something we kind of spoke about earlier, is the YOLO economy. You only live once. It was in the New York Times, which explored that YOLO mentality. And it stated something strange is happening to the exhausted type A millennial workers of America. After a year spent hunched over their MacBooks, enduring back-to-back Zooms, in between sourdough loaves and Peloton rides, guilty. I was like, oh my gosh, they are flipping the carefully arranged chessboards of their lives and deciding to risk it all. I've seen this, I'm telling you, I've seen people, they're quitting to travel, starting businesses, changing careers, going back to school. As one of my clients actually mentioned earlier this week, she said, it's wild and woolly out there. I was like, yeah, it is, it's nuts, but it's pretty wild right now. It's really made people assess their lives. Also have to touch on candidate preferences. Their demands are shifting and they're shifting dramatically and all over the place. You know, as I had mentioned, some people who were in the gig economy don't want to do it, and others who weren't now want to do it. It's just like, it's all over the place. And to keep up with it is like a full-time job. This is also often industry specific too. So you need to know your industry, what the candidates are wanting in your industry, and what their requests may be, so that you can really be, when you are kind of putting out that message, you're messaging properly for your audience. So let's just take a quick look at some specific industry struggles. This heat map is fantastic from Moody's. It just kind of breaks it all down. But I mean, we know the pandemic hit industries unevenly. Hospitality and travel businesses were devastated, and many of the thousands of small businesses that had to close during the pandemic may never reopen, while e-commerce and food and grocery delivery businesses thrived. Some of the hardest hit industries are now leading the recovery as they finally start to rehire workers. And as we've mentioned, it's tough to get them to come back to work. So again, in this, know your industry. It's going to kind of come back. Know your industry, know your audience. Also know if you're recruiting for tech, a tech person's going to want something different over, say, an accounting person, over a legal person. So it's also kind of position specific as well. Now let's touch on some of the requests that candidates are wanting these days. They want a CEO and leadership that prioritizes talent. Reach them where they are via text, email, Zoom, phone. How do they like to connect, and connect with them there? They want a world-class candidate experience. They want internal mobility, diversity, and inclusion. They want you to be mission focused. Know who you are as a company and live your values and really share that story. They want seamless onboarding and remote work and other things. Like all the money in the world and all the benefits in the world. There's a lot of things that we could put. Yeah. So earlier on, I mentioned that we were going to explore employer brand, and I was going to give you a few key takeaways. So here is one. So do you stand out? And do you stand out in a good way? A simple test I would suggest is called the logo test. You can do this now if you've got a split screen or your cell phone, but pull up your website and preferably go to the careers landing page, if you have one, or to your About Us page. Put your hand over the top left-hand corner so you're covering the company logo. The idea is to review the website from the perspective and lens of a potential employee. Look at the images, read through the text, review the job descriptions, the about the company content. Now ask yourself, I know this is not a lot of time, but ask yourself these kind of following questions. What does your website tell? Does your company appear to be an employer of choice? Could this be any number of companies in the local area or in your industry? Is this clearly a unique company? Does this information tell you your unique employer branding story? Are top performers going to want to apply there? How would you rate yourself, 1 to 5? Do you stand out? Couple quick tips. Have another person review this as well from another person's, vantage point and perspective. Additionally, visit competitor web pages and compare. How do you stack up against them? That's a big deal. Candidates are coming to your website. If they're not coming to your website before an interview, I don't know that they're a top performer. So they're coming there. So make sure you have the information that they're going to want to see. The next tool I would recommend is more time intensive. It's called the Employment Brand Assessment or Audit. In my experience, this is the best way to uncover the employment brand story. And it's to survey your current team and ideally the full team. The survey will uncover very powerful information, and you may be rather surprised to hear the reasons why your people stay, why they leave. Many of my clients have been rather shocked at the reasons. In fact, almost every time that we do this assessment, if they survey their whole staff, they're getting some powerful storytelling and some tips as well. So here are some assessment tips. Survey everyone, current employees, onboarding new team members, and outgoing if possible. Why do they stay? Why did they accept the position? Why are they leaving? It's going to give you some good info if you can do that. Be willing to do something about it. If you get some negative feedback, you got to be willing to make some positive change. Update it every year. Keep it fresh. You will evolve and change as the company grows. It evolves and changes. Candidates want different things, as we see as the world evolves and changes. And then ask all the questions. Do they know your mission, what your values are? How do you show up? How do the values show up in the workplace? If your value is integrity, how is that presented in the workplace? Describe the day-to-day work environment, the leadership style, the unique perks. How do the benefits compare? What's the reward system like? The idea is to uncover just all that good stuff. So once you've gathered all this data, what do? Just simply put, use this data in your storytelling and storytelling in your job ads. So not just job description, but make them job ads. The ones you need your job descriptions for HR purposes, but you also need job ads. When you're taking it out to the world, it needs to stand out. And you can really put some pretty powerful storytelling in your job ads. And I'm going to show you some. So let's go over a little case study to illustrate kind of how this may work. So I'm going to set the stage. I do legal recruiting as well as accounting recruiting. This is with one of my larger clients. So the firm, small to mid-size civil litigation firm, growing rapidly into mid-size national. We're talking 70 attorneys to 300 in the past 3 years with like 70 open recs right now. A lot of open positions with steep growth trajectory, struggling to attract candidates. Recruiting is a major pain point, but get this, the firm is awesome. Great benefits, fun culture, winning law firm, unique programs for women, young professionals and minorities, excellent training programs, rapid partnership track, student loan payoff. I mean, need I say more? All this awesome stuff. They could not figure out why candidates were not applying or sometimes not accepting offers or not engaging with the internal HR reps or recruiters who are reaching out to them directly. They brought me in. We did the deep dive assessment into all things culture and recruiting. We were left with some very powerful employment brand language that was implemented into their recruiting efforts. So let me show you kind of an example here. This was the pre-employer brand assessment job ad. As you can see, there's really no ad language. It's just like, we're rapidly growing, highly reputable, and then we need you. Really nothing that's going to sell the firm in any way. After we did, I want to show you some of the powerful storytelling that kind of came out. These are direct quotes that we got from some of their employees, and it's just juicy stuff. For instance, I always describe us as a firm that works hard and cares hard. It's a place where hard work is recognized and rewarded. We are encouraged to be an essential part of the firm's big dreams. The opportunity for growth here is huge. Again, they want upward mobility. Everyone works hard and genuinely gets along and cares about each other. It just has like this good, like yummy feeling. We had so much storytelling. for the sake of time, we're going to move on. So what we did with this juicy storytelling, we were able to narrow it down to 5 core employer brand selling points, which included career growth, work-life integration, inclusive and collaborative, generous benefits, and personal growth. Within each of those pillars, we created various talking points and marketing messages. They've got videos on their website that might be speaking to that. And we've got just a menu of things that we can kind of pick and pull from so that we can keep those job ads fresh. And so I'm going to show you how we implemented this into the job ad. So please note, this is one of many ways you can create a job ad. You can be really quite creative, and it does help you stand out with job seekers and passive candidates. This is just the top end of the job ad. So you can see I take a lot of time in this particular job description to sell the company and let the candidates know what's in it for them. So let's, in that first bubble, that kind of introductory paragraph, I kind of want to dissect this a little bit. So are you dedicated and driven by the idea that everyone deserves justice? That question is touching on the mission of the firm, and it is very powerful to hire individuals who are in alignment with your organization's mission and values. If that doesn't speak to someone, they're not going to apply. So moving on, would you like to be a part of a collaborative and supportive learning environment that offers long-term career development and success as a litigation attorney? These are questions that get them thinking and active as they read the job ad. It's kind of leading them on and pushing them forward. And if your answer is yes, please read on. This is a call to action. It keeps them reading and engaged. The job ad is literally speaking to them and urging them to stay engaged and learn more. As we move down towards the what we offer section, I'd like to take a closer look at just one of the pillars, the work-life integration. So life in the legal world is highly energized, competitive, and fast-paced. That is why we require fewer annual billable hours than our competitors and offer flexible vacation policy, paid family leave, and more. We do not want you to just thrive here. We want you to have the freedom to succeed in every aspect of your life. I mean, doesn't that just tell, like, that tells some employer brand stuff. That's like, we care about you. We want you to have every aspect of your life wonderful. And it's just like, ooh. Now closing out the job ad, we have another call to action. So in that kind of bottom pocket, if this all appeals to you and you believe in justice for all applies to all citizens, again, touching on the firm values and mission, then join the firm the plaintiff's bar loves to hate. Now that's a little bit of a playful statement and a lot confident, but that's very much so who they are as a firm. They're going to attract individuals who like that vibe. They love to win and they're really proud of it. We look forward to hearing from, and then it goes on to say, we look forward to hearing from you. Kind of, again, that friendly invite, apply here, come work with us. We actually ran a test. We posted this one against the other one, and it was bar none, more applicants, more qualified applicants. Whenever I speak to candidates, my first question is always what attracted you to this particular position. And even attorneys will say, I get this all the time. Well, there's a lot of fluff, but I kind of like the fluff. They like it. They want to know what you have to offer. They want to know what's in it for them. So, couple job ad tips: be authentic and honest. Don't just paint a glossy image that's not true. Show your personality. Again, that plaintiff's bar loves to hate statement. Stand out. Share how you are different. The fluff does matter. Make a strong first impression. Update it and keep it fresh. Consider hiring a marketing professional to help you build out a full employment branding campaign and landing page and images if you don't have that. If you've got a strong marketing department, they should be able to help you do this. So there is that. I actually have some surveys that I'm happy to share with you. I have a mini assessment on my website that's free. You can jump on and play around with. All right, how to select a recruiting partner. I think this is really important. If you should decide to work with an external recruiter, I think there's some really good ways to do it and some really bad ways. So here's some tips. Consider smaller firms with solid longevity, less numbers driven, so you can see higher quality results and a better relationship, hopefully. Choose a recruitment agency with a good reputation. Are you checking references? You can check references on recruiters. Look at what benefits are offered, especially if you're looking for temporary or those gig employees. Make sure you pick firms where you can actually speak to the decision makers. and that you have a primary contact that is caring about the candidate quality. Find a recruitment agency that does the job search work for you, not just posting and praying and sending you all the resumes they're getting, because you can do that. Dig into their screening processes. Consider using a headhunter who works in your specific industry, as well as specific position types. So like specialists, tech position, tech recruiter, legal position, legal recruiter. I don't touch tech positions. I'm not going to be able to fill that as well as a tech recruiter. Select a recruiter with values and mission alignment with your company. They are an extension of your team. They are a part of the candidate experience. It does affect your reputation if they're being a jerk to your candidates, or if they're ghosting your candidates. Don't utilize all the recruiters at the same time. I have a client in the past who was utilizing 18 recruiters at one time, and all 18 of those were not motivated to serve them. Communicate, give feedback, help them help you. This is like Jerry Maguire moment, right? If I don't have feedback, I can't do my job. So give them all the feedback, give them like the real hardcore feedback. They need that to tweak the search and to do a better job. And then last but not least, part of your employment branding should be, what is your impact? In the long run, COVID will and has changed how people see employers. They care about how you treat the world, what you're doing what your footprint is. I can't even get this out. I'm most passionate about it, but from your partnerships with nonprofits to employee assistance programs to acts of kindness, they all care about those things. So take those things and be sharing them in all the places on your website, share them on Facebook, Instagram, and all the places, because it's really going to help people connect with you and they're going to want to work with you. And again, that's part of who you are. And those people who are connected to you and have that mission alignment are going to seek out to work for you. To kind of builds that pipeline. So hopefully that gave you some tips. I know it was a lot of data. Again, you'll have access to this. You can always reach out and ask any questions, but let's shift this conversation to the internal perspective. Andrea is an incredible HR professional who is real-time changing her game. And so she's here to share some of her recruiting tactics with us all. I'm going to pass it over to you.
Am I in charge of my slides, or?
No, but I can move them if you'd like.
Okay.
Unless you want to share your screen.
No, you can do it. That's might as well keep it going.
Okay.
Hey everybody, thanks Amber. Thanks Stephanie for having me today. It's been a pleasure, working through this process. I've worked with external recruiters in the past, and I can tell you Amber is top of her game, just from my experience. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about how I internally recruit. A lot of HR folks, we have to, from time to time, we have to pick up that baton and run with it. Some of you may not have a lot of experience doing it. So hopefully today you can just take a few takeaways, a few little gems from what I've learned over the years, and hopefully apply that. And I'm also more than happy to share on a more detailed level, some tips, later on. Feel free to email me or call me or whatever. I'm happy to help. So the current state of recruiting, Amber's touched on it a little bit. I'm just going to look at it from more of like an internal perspective, from working at a company, trying to recruit for my company. One of the things, and I think Walter, you mentioned, one of your issues was ghosting. So that is something that I face. I feel like I have a great candidate. We've had great emails, even some phone calls, and then they just don't show up. So that is definitely a struggle. It's real. I don't know that it's new, but it's definitely picked up in the last 15 months or so. It's definitely an employee's market, 100%. Someone mentioned on the chat that compensation is a big issue, and I'll just kind of touch on that now, but it definitely is. I have people asking for ridiculous amounts of money just out of college, barely had a job, and it's shocking, honestly. So trying to find that balance of being able to meet a candidate's needs versus a business. We have to run a business, so it's kind of an interesting balance.
I have a question about ghosting. Do you guys give candidates a second chance if they ghost? Do you call and find out, or do you just move on?
We move on, honestly. If we get them reaching back out to us like, oh my gosh, it didn't pop up on my calendar, I'm so sorry, then I'll usually chat with them. But it's, in my experience, it's a red flag. You know, so we want somebody who wants to be here, who's committed. And if they're going to ghost this early in the game, for me as an HR professional, that's just a red flag. Unless there's a reason. There's always exceptions, 100%. Something happened. We had somebody once get in a car accident. Okay, I'm going to talk to you. We'll reschedule. So things happen, and I'm sensitive to that. But, you know, you just have to make your call. Listen to your gut a little bit on that.
For the guy in the car accident, can I go interview you in the hospital?
I know, right? We really need someone. Do you have 15 minutes? You know, and maybe that's part of figuring out what makes you different. How far are you willing to go for your candidates? We go really far for our employees. We do a lot of really cool stuff. Me coming in, I kind of took over I wouldn't say I started the HR department, but they didn't have a lot before. They had people doing HR functions, and I've really partnered with one of my bosses and another gal. She's like so good at company culture. We've worked really hard to make us different and make us stand out. And I'm going to share some of the things that we do that hopefully have helped. Okay, Amber, next slide. Okay, so more about changing your games. And my little slides are a little bit tongue in cheek. So if you want more clarification later on, I'm happy to talk to you. I feel like it truly is a game of hide and seek right now. We are definitely, as an internal recruiter, we have to find people. It's not, when I first got hired at 1.21, the owner told me, yeah, we have no problem, you know, finding people. We just post and they automatically apply. Well, that's changed. That's definitely changed. I wouldn't say it's just due to COVID. I think it's just, it's just happened. There's a lot of people out there looking for jobs and a lot of companies looking for people. It's our job as a recruiter to find those folks and find quality candidates. It's not just about how many people apply. You want quality. And as Amber was talking about, making your job ad stand out, you know, it's really going to help weed out some of the candidates that maybe you don't want. One of the things that I do is I find out where people hang out. I go to specific blogs. If I'm trying to hire a developer, I'm going to go to a developer blog. They specialize in Python. It's a little bit of extra work, sometimes a lot of extra work, but I find that it's worth it. Go to websites dedicated to whatever position that you're specifically searching for, like search engine optimization people. I go where they hang out. Chat rooms, social media is really been helpful. I join groups on Facebook dedicated to certain professions. I find that has been really helpful. What I mean by make it personal, usually you can find an email address somewhere, whether it's on LinkedIn, sometimes on Twitter, sometimes on Facebook. It really just kind of depends on what people choose to post about themselves. But if you do have even a resume from an applicant, it's going to have their email. When you send that initial email to connect with them, make it personal. Find something out about them. Address it in the subject line. Even if you're passively recruiting, you find somebody on LinkedIn that you like. Take a minute and look at where they went to school. Look at what language they speak. You know, find a little tidbit about them and throw that into the email. Throw that into the subject line. It's really going to make a difference because people want to feel like you have paid attention, if that makes sense. Follow-up is so important. Don't give up after that first email. I'm telling you, I've had multiple candidates tell me, I saw your email, I really wasn't interested, or I'm not really looking, and I bug them again. I send a follow-up email. And I get results. I get people calling me back, or I get an email back, and they're open to a conversation. So follow up 2 times, maybe 3 if you really like that person, and you know, give that a shot, but don't give up. Who works at your competition? That is a really, has been really powerful for me. When I'm recruiting for a new position, I typically make a list, and I have actually a running list of competitors, not only in the state of California, but all across the country. Like, what other digital marketing agencies are out there that do similar things that we do. And I look, because usually digital marketing agencies, they have a list of who works here, or they have people's pictures up with little bios, what the people do at the position. You may not have their email, you may not get their email address, but you can find them. You can find them on social media, you can find them on LinkedIn. Send an email to the work email address if you can figure out what the work email address is, and you're brave enough to send an email to their work, give it a shot. But one of the things I want to caution you about doing that is make sure that you're not damaging a relationship with a competitor. My boss, who's the owner of the company, has a lot of relationships with other owners of digital marketing agencies. And there are just certain firms that it's called poaching. I don't go after their people because I don't want to damage that relationship by reaching out and potentially causing an issue.
Andrea,
so, yes.
Regarding that, I know, I think you've mentioned this before, that sometimes you can, if you're sending it to a work email, you can actually position it not like, hey, are you unhappy where you're at? You can position it in a way that's more like wanting feedback for why they're happy. Or I don't know, isn't there a way you can word it like, instead of just flat out like, hey, we like you or we want you? I don't know.
We need you. Yes, there is. And usually I do this, my first touch emails, not just at a competitor, but even if I don't know the person and I'm just blindly reaching out, I say, hey, I'm looking to network with people, in my same industry. We happen to be looking for a Python developer. Do you know anyone? You seem to have a large, presence on LinkedIn. You have a lot of connections. Do you know anybody that might be open to a conversation? And then I would say, I don't know, a quarter of the time, people will respond back, I am. So I've actually hired somebody that way, that was a referral of somebody that I did that, or that I reached out to. So it does work. It's just a heads up, folks. It is a lot of legwork. I mean, you do have to really spend the time because things have changed. And obviously that's what we're talking about here today.
And I just want to make one comment. I know a lot of times there might be a lack of knowledge from the employer and the HR manager on how much time the HR department is actually spending on recruiting, and that, owners feel like it should be easy. And so just everything that we're learning right now, this is all individual emails, like custom emails, making it personal, like this takes time and you might not get a response. So
right.
I think that's just something to way to go, guys, for putting that effort in. And it is not easy. And it's also probably not easy to be in alignment with the business owner on, having them understand how long this process actually does take.
No, they don't understand it. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about in a few minutes about how to involve the leadership at your company and getting them on board. So it definitely does take a lot of time, 100%. Okay, next slide. Let's see. Some of these things I've already kind of talked about, and just in the interest of time, I'm going to just kind of breeze over them. But make sure that you're figuring out and highlighting what makes your company different from your competitors. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of digital marketing agencies across the country. Figure out, go online, look at their website, see what they're offering, and see what you can do different, or highlight what you can do different that you're already doing differently. One of the really important things that I've learned over the years is you need to figure out what works and what doesn't work. So look back at your recruiting history. If you don't have an applicant tracking system, that's okay. You don't need it. You can do an Excel spreadsheet. Make sure that you're recording where your candidates are coming from, because if you're spending $300-400 on a 30-day job ad on ZipRecruiter and you're not getting quality, lose it, right? But you have to figure out what's paying off and what's not paying off, and focus on the things that are working for you and ditch the things that are not. One of the things that's really been beneficial, not just at 1.21, but at all the other companies I've ever recruited for, add a referral bonus program if you don't have one. These are invaluable, because if people at your company are taking the time to refer other folks that they know, they're probably going to be, well, one, it says a lot about your company that people like working for you and want to bring others to come, that they're potentially friends with or former colleagues, they want to bring them on board as well. It varies. There's a lot of different things that you can do with the referral bonus program. And you can also run campaigns. So right now we have a flat, you bring somebody on board, we hire them, you get $500 once they meet 90 days. I ran campaigns where, you know, for the month of August, let's say, we're hiring 2 SEO associates. We're going to bump it up to $1,500 for the month of August only. Like, so there's different things that you can do to get people on board and make sure that people know about your referral bonus program. So if nobody knows about it, you know, they may or may not refer people. But this is just an added little benefit. So, okay, next slide. Oops, I think, yeah, okay. All right, this, Stephanie was just talking about it, you know, getting people on board, making them understand your efforts, how much time it actually really does take, how much money it takes. Manage expectations with your internal leadership. One of the best things you can do is involve them. You know, in the beginning of a recruitment, if you're recruiting for a new position, I always sit down with that hiring manager and I say, what are the details of the position? Yes, I have a job description, but what are the details? What are your expectations? What are you looking for? What kind of a candidate are you looking for? And it's really helpful to also get 3 to 5 position-specific pre-screen questions from them, because it's really going to help you narrow down your candidate pool. If you've already pre-screened out the people they really just aren't going to want to talk to, by getting position-specific pre-screen questions. So it's a little more technical, but it has been helpful. My managers, they don't have a lot of time, so any legwork I can do in advance is very much appreciated. Be the squeaky wheel. What I mean by this, don't let the process stop. So if you have an open position that you're trying to fill and you've done the pre-screen, you've done your legwork, you've found 3 or 4 or 5 candidates that you really like, that you feel are great, or potentially could be a good fit, and you've sent them to the manager and you haven't heard back for 2 weeks, you need to be following up. There's a lot of that involved in internal recruiting. Don't let the process stop, because as we know and as we're learning, candidates are moving on quickly. So if I were a candidate and I hadn't heard back from, you know, the recruiter that I talked to in 2 weeks, I might move on to another company that I was kind of holding off on because I really wanted to work at 1.21. So I've lost candidates that way. Good candidates, and it's frustrating. So make sure that you don't let the process stop on your end. Find out what the hiring manager wants and needs. I kind of already touched on that. It's a little bit of repetitiveness, but make sure that you know what they like about candidates and what they don't like. You can use their own people that are already working for them. Find out what you know, their top performers, what their traits are, what the things that they do well. And make sure that, you know, you're making note of that. The purple unicorn candidate, yes, that is something that's a real thing that I think managers want. Everybody has an idea in their head about who they like, you know, their top candidate. They can do everything. They check off all the boxes on the job description and the requirements. In my experience, they're not out there or they're already working and they're not looking. So you've got to find out from your manager, your hiring manager, you know, realistic expectations. Are they willing to sit down and train a person who has some of the skills, but they have a phenomenal drive to learn and grow? You know, personally, I would focus on those people. You know, and I think it's important to help your managers also get to that same expectation. Okay, next slide. Right, some of the things that I've learned over the years, I'm going to share with you a little bit. Some of it, again, is a little bit repetitive, but it's only because it's really, in my experience, important. There's this tool called, and I learned about it from the owner of my company, and it's connected to LinkedIn. It's actually a Chrome extension or a browser extension. It's called SalesQL. And what it does, so I'll give you an example. If you're looking at a candidate on LinkedIn and you need to find their email address, and you just can't find it because you're not connected with them, you can click on the little icon at the top of your toolbar if you've downloaded the SalesQL extension, and it's going to show you their email address. It's an algorithm. I don't know exactly how it's done. And the email address may not be valid anymore, but at least it's a starting point. You know, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but it's pretty cool. I would recommend giving that a try. It's some place to start. Tailor your reach out emails and make it personal. I've mentioned this before, but again, candidates want to know you're paying attention to what makes them unique. So again, comment on the school they went to. You know, if they say, I love to travel, you know, comment on that. Just anything that you can find, one or two little things, I think in my experience makes a difference. Know your audience. This is key. Know who you're recruiting for. Know who you're talking to. There's a huge difference recruiting for a B2B salesperson versus a developer. Huge difference. Salespeople usually are very extroverted. You know, you can maybe in your emails be a little more funny, add some humor. Developers, maybe they might be a little bit more serious. They're very detail oriented. Maybe just add bullet points. You know, you just take a little bit of time and figure out who you're talking to, who you're trying to recruit, and tailor your approach to that person. That also goes with, I don't want to stereotype people, but the generation that you're recruiting for. So I think Amber mentioned earlier about millennials. If you're trying to recruit millennials, they're going to care about ping pong tables. And if you can bring your dog to work, which we all can't, we do at my work, by the way. But if somebody who is a little bit, maybe, I don't know, a different mindset, it's definitely, you just have to pay attention to who you're talking to and kind of tailor your approach and things that you're talking to them about in regards to your company, what your company offers. Just again, make it, know your audience. Okay, connect with connections. Just a quick mention on this. I do a lot of LinkedIn passive recruiting. And I like to, when I find somebody that I like to look at their connections and see who they're connected with, because chances are they're connected with other people doing the same thing that they are. And I might have some luck, you know, reaching out to those connections as well. Okay, next slide. All right, we are running up on time. So I'm gonna, again, get through this pretty quickly. Industry-specific job boards are really helpful. Position-specific job boards as well. If you have a phone number, make sure that you utilize it. Don't be afraid to send people a text. I know that a lot of people don't necessarily look at their emails these days, but I'm pretty sure most people check their phone. So I've had good luck with texting. And don't talk work right away. When you are talking to a candidate, they're going to be nervous. Maybe you're even a little bit nervous. So take a few minutes, ask how their weekend was, you know, just a little bit of chit chat goes a long way. Job security, one of the things that I like to highlight is the fact that during COVID, you know, my company, we've had no layoffs. In fact, we've grown. So I think that makes people feel really good, especially right now, is knowing that they're talking to somebody from a company that is not going anywhere. So, okay, next slide. All right, so those are just a few of my little tools and tips that I've kind of, you know, gathered over the years. But one of the things that it's so critical, honestly, is onboarding. So now you've hired somebody, congratulations, all your hard work is paid off, whether it's from an external recruiter or you found that person yourself. Bottom line is you've got to get them onboarded, and it starts from the day they sign the offer letter. Usually it's 2 to 3 weeks from the time they sign the offer letter until their start day. During those 2 to 3 weeks, engage with them. Don't just leave them out you know, kind of hanging, wondering what's going to go on. Send them their first day, first week schedule. That's what we do. We also send emails to them asking for pictures for their favorite things, because we like to put together a poster introducing them to everybody in the company. And we include them in that from day one. So they, you know, people send them, hey, welcome aboard. We can't wait to have you start. So there's a lot of things that you can do in between to keep those people engaged. So maybe once they do start, you know, they're feeling already part of the company, because typically people make the decision within, what is it? I think it's like the first 2 or 3 weeks, whether or not they're going to stay or not. So it's really important to get them connected with everybody and feeling good about the decision that they've made right from the day they sign that offer letter. And like, it's the little things that matter. It may not seem like a big deal to you, but it definitely does make a difference. So next slide. Okay, that's all I have. And again, I know I had to cruise through some of that pretty quickly, but please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to share what I know. And you know, if anybody has any questions, I think Amber and I have a few minutes to hang out. We kind of like to know how you're changing your game.
And I guess, thank you guys. So I know some of us need to go. And I just wanted to thank you guys so much for being on this call. This was phenomenal. Thank you guys for leading this discussion. One of the questions that I have, and I think please feel free if anybody wants to jump in before me, because I can always talk to these ladies, is just like some of our clients that I see on the call here are kind of hiring for entry-level positions, right? They might not be a LinkedIn, or like, what platforms have you found success on that are, you know, for like entry-level positions?
I think it depends on the position and on the industry. So Craigslist has been really, really helpful for us, but more for our entry-level positions. So Craigslist it's inexpensive to post a job. I think it depends on where you're at, but usually it's $45 to post a 30-day job ad. We found that really helpful.
I would agree. I never use Craigslist. I heard there was a murderer on there, and so I stopped going there. But my clients use it and it works for them. So I'm going to use it. And then if it doesn't work, let me know. But I actually feel like Indeed is probably good for more entry-level positions. You're going to deal with the fact that you're going to have inflated tons of applicants that aren't qualified. You're going to deal with that. But use the pre-screen questions, use those, because that will help you save time. And so utilize the tool to the maximum level as well. If it has features that help you pre-screen, use it.
Yeah. And if you post on like LinkedIn, for whatever reason, it gets pushed out to Indeed, because I found my positions in both places and I didn't post it on Indeed. I've used ZipRecruiter. I've had good luck with ZipRecruiter as well.
Yep. ZipRecruiter is a great one also. Definitely.
One of the things that we used to do is, you know, a lot of the positions we would hire for, a lot of times it's customer service, right? And we'd want to hear how they speak on the phone before we're giving them time, like before we're reviewing resumes. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when entry level, you get a ton. And so it was a little weird, and I feel like we probably lost some candidates doing it, but we used to if they read the job ad and they liked it, we'd end with like, if this position seems like a great fit, please call this number and be ready to sell yourself. And it was like a Google phone number. And then they'd have to call the number, which was automatically a voicemail, which basically said, hey, you are applying for this position at SSA Insurance Services. Please give us the top 3 reasons why this position is right for you, or why you're right for this position. And then you hear them like click because they hang up, because now they have to think about it. And then it's the same number that'll call back prepared. And that's obviously if it was a good candidate. And then you get to hear how they speak over the phone and what they come up with. And then if we liked it, then we'd ask for their resume, because it was like hundreds of resumes and nobody has time. And so that helped kind of narrow it down if we liked how they spoke over the phone and they were like already kind of seasoned when it came to customer service, or just, you know, I liked that process. But I think we did lose a lot of candidates along the way because they thought it might have been something weird in terms of what are they applying for, you know, but we've had success with that.
There are some various companies that also do the video interview where it's pre-filmed or pre-recorded your questions. But that, I mean, those cost money, but those could be pretty powerful as well, especially now that everyone's used to video. You're not going to lose as many candidates as you may have in the past, adding that hurdle. Because whenever you add something, you might lose some candidates because they get nervy. they're like, oh my gosh, they're going to film me. But now everyone's on Zoom all the time. So
true.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I have a quick input just for entry level type people. I've also used the EDD office, the Veterans Recruiters. I'm a veteran myself, so I reach out to the veteran recruiter at the EDD office. Thank you for your service. I reach out to the veterans recruiter, and they get guys that are coming right out of the Marine Corps, the Army, Navy, Air Force, and these are folks that are looking for work, probably relocating back to your area. So that's a good resource. Unfortunately, I've had a couple of ghosts show up there too. Hasn't worked in 2021 yet.
And
I
just
love that. Be sure to jump on and get your WOTC tax credits as well for hiring veterans. So make sure you're doing that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Those are the things that we offer as well. And that's what we put out there.
And one of the things too is make sure that you're really paying attention to those transferable skills, because a lot of companies, a lot of people in the military do a little bit of the same things. It's just called differently in the military, you know? So you just have to just dive in a little bit deeper and take a look at some of those transferable skills that might transfer to the civilian world. So.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you being on the call today. Hopefully you guys got a lot out of it. We will be following up with this call with an email with a survey so we can get some feedback from you on how this presentation went. And also it'll be a copy of the presentation, and then eventually we'll be able to, once the video is recorded, we can give you guys all a recording in case you wanted to go back and watch it again or share it with your coworkers and internal HR. Thank you guys.